taking care of my own needs.
Yeah,
So,
so go ahead and start over with what you're saying, Maddie. Go ahead.
so I'm a type of person that feels guilty for taking care of my own needs. So, getting through the holidays while not, I don't want to constantly be having to put my parents' needs first and worrying about like their emotions and stuff for mine because I'm a little nervous for this holiday season, mostly because the 1 year anniversary of my grandma's passing is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is like the first holiday season where like I'm not numb and I'm actually like feeling the things. And I don't want to have to like force myself to like be like a brick wall and have nothing just because it makes other people comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I want like I guess I want to feel like I'm able to like express like and grieve with my family without having to like I don't want to have to like be comforting my parents,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
That makes a
I,
lot of sense.
yeah, because I want to protect myself and my mom's emotions, like protect my mom's like emotions specifically.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
yeah. So that's really it.
That makes sense. And first of all, my condolences on the passing of your grandma. My grandma actually died 2 years ago, around the same time. And um, it happens where we as children learn to caretake our parents' emotions, and they really like it when we do that. And so getting out of that pattern is really important. I'm glad you're here, Maddie.
You.
Yeah. Stacey, what are you hoping to get out of this workshop?
Um, like the next level of, because I've been working on this for maybe the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm getting better at experiencing less overwhelm and resentment on the holidays. And even my husband notices a difference, which is huge because he just, how stressed I get the weeks leading up. Um, he just wishes we could just leave town and not ever talk to anyone until January. And
Yes.
he's a super calm, peaceful person. So that energy I bring when I'm feeling overwhelmed makes him not want to be a part of it. And we always host Thanksgiving, and it's super fun. We have a large family, an extended family, and it's a huge party. We do it for 2 days. We do it Thursday and Friday because a lot of people come from out of town and they want to stay longer. Nobody stays at our house, which makes it easier. But it's just super fun. I mean, we have a great party. Um, so over the years, I've learned to manage and pick and choose, what do I want to do? What can I let go of?
Yeah. Yes.
And so I feel like this workshop would help me get to the next level because it's been a slow, you know, it's just 1 year at a time. Okay, this was better, but this wasn't. So how can I make it all better?
Yes. Stacey, let me ask you, how would you know if it was better? What would be different?
By experiencing more time sitting down and having conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah.
would and playing games. We all
Yes.
love to play games, and uh I want to be a part of playing games and conversations, and less about, we have three grown adult sons, and they're uh well, one's married, two might as well be married. They've been together forever and they have kids, you know. but they all expect the same dishes that I make once a year for Thanksgiving. And I do give them, like, they're all great cooks, our sons, and I'll tell them, you make this dish, you make that dish, but it's different. Two of the three of our sons are firefighters. So a lot of times they're either here or they're not. And then, I'm trying to divvy up the responsibility. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. All right.
And they're dishes, they're recipes that we only make once a year for Thanksgiving, and everybody wants them. And yeah. But
okay.
yeah, having more connection, more conversations, being available to play the games.
Okay. So less like busy work, cooking, cleaning, and more availability, presence, connection, games, conversations.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right. I just want to apologize to anyone who is going to be joining us late. We're going to jump in and we're going to make sure that everybody knows exactly where the Zoom link is for next time. Stacy, do you know if your friend is having trouble? Oh, you're muted, Stacy.
She hasn't gotten back to me. So I texted her the link. So
Great.
I'll call her.
Okay, fantastic. All right, we're going to hop in and do what we came to do. And at the end, we're going to have lots of time for questions and even some time for coaching if everything goes correctly. My goal is that you leave this workshop better understanding your people pleasing and why it's so hard around the holidays. Like, what is it about the holidays that just brings all of kind of this up to the forefront? So let's hop in to, I have a little presentation for you. And I'm going to make sure that I have the chat open. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. This is hopefully going to be a really interactive workshop. Feel free to just unmute and share, or you can share your answers in the chat as well. So welcome to the holiday edition of Stop People Pleasing. I am Sarah Bybee Fisk. I am a master certified coach. I use somatic experiencing and internal family systems or parts work to help my clients and to help us today just understand why is this people-pleasing monster so hard to kill off? Why do I feel like I'm stuck in these just patterns of people-pleasing year after year after year? I am the host of the Ex Good Girl podcast and the creator of Stop People Pleasing, which is a group coaching program. And I promise I will tell you how you can join that. If I were to describe myself, I'm a pretty anxious optimist. I believe things are going to be okay probably, but I'm still nervous about it. And I have ADHD, which I'm learning to manage in a completely different way at this phase of my life. I am a wife. I have 5 kids. And I am a recovering people pleaser and just general overdoer. So everything that I am going to be sharing with you has come about because I have developed it with myself and practiced it on hundreds and hundreds of clients. By this time in my career, I've probably coached several thousand women through some of these same issues. So I've got you. You can relax. You're going to get a copy of this recording along with the slides, so you can just kind of be here and participate. All right, we're going to be answering 3 main questions. What is people pleasing? How did we get stuck in it, and how do we get out? My goal for you is to leave this workshop with greater compassion for yourself and your people-pleasing habits. Why is compassion my goal? Compassion is my goal because most of the women I talk to are very, very hard on themselves about their people-pleasing. If you are in your 20s or 30s or even 40s, often the women that I talk to say something like, why can't I just not caretake my parents' emotions? Why can't I just be who I want to be in front of whoever I'm with? Why can't I just say my opinion and who cares what they think? And rather than being like compassionate and gentle with ourselves, we beat ourselves up. Does this sound familiar for you? Are you kind of in that loop of like beating yourself up because you can't not people please? I was there. I feel that 100%. And we're going to figure out how to not do that anymore. So I just want to ask, this is an important question. Do you have currently any compassion for yourself around your people pleasing? If the answer is no, that's totally fine. Maybe you're asking, what the heck even is compassion around my people pleasing? Doesn't make sense. And maybe we are for sure going to start there. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to read some comments. Yep, exactly. So what even is compassion? Yeah, I hear you, Maddie. We're going to get into it. All right. This is the definition that I like for people pleasing, and it explains why it's hard. People pleasing is feeling like you don't have a choice to do what you want or need for yourself. So you have to put others' needs and wants first because it feels like the only choice. People pleasing is choicelessness. I have to do it. I should do it. They expect me to do it. We've never not done it this way. And so it's this feeling of like, oh, just stuck. Like there is only the choice to do things for other people. And I want you for just a second to pay attention to how your body feels right now. Do you feel tension when you're thinking about this not having a choice? I do. And it's going to be more and more important as we go through this workshop to really pay attention to what your body is doing. So just kind of feel for a second. Think about the situations you're in where people pleasing really pops up and that like tense, I don't have a choice. What does people pleasing look like? Get out your mental bingo cards and mark them off if these feel familiar to you. Accommodating, you're always the one changing and kind of making it work for everybody else, changing your schedule. You're editing what you're saying. You're thinking like, okay, can I say that? Could I say it that way? There's a lot of thought that goes into anything you want to say because you don't want to make anybody mad. Sometimes it's feeling like the victim, like things keep happening to you. Why do I get in this situation where I've said yes to too many things? Your identity is tied to what you do for other people. I'm the person who makes all the holiday plans. I'm the one who cooks the meal. I'm the one who comes through for everybody else. I'm the one people can count on. And that's really a core part of why you feel valuable. People pleasing also looks like needing to do it perfectly. And you think and think and think, how is it going to be perfect? What's going to happen if I don't do it perfect? And so you kind of double down or you spend a lot of time not doing things because you're so worried about it not being perfect. You check and recheck and recheck and recheck. Or maybe you're the strong and dependable one. Or maybe you do a lot of pretending or performing. Pretending sounds a lot like, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. I can handle it. I can do it. I've got it. No problem. And performing is really being aware of like, okay, they're looking at me. What are they thinking of me? Do they like the way I'm doing it? Do you like the way I'm doing it? What do you think of the way I'm doing it? And it's almost like you're putting on a performance of things for other people to like. Approval seeking, self-neglect, or sacrifice. This is a big, big one during the holiday. And Stacey spoke to a little bit of, just the way that all of this needs to be done and how it ends up feeling resentful for her. A lot of resentment comes from the way that we're constantly sacrificing or neglecting taking care of ourselves. It's just hard to say no. This is kind of a perennial one that makes a lot of sense. It's just hard to say no. I don't want to do that. Not able to speak up about how you really feel, about what you really want. You just avoid conflict. You don't talk about it. You pretend everything is fine, but you don't feel like you can actually have the feelings that you're really feeling. Maddie talked a little bit about that. about not able to really be who you really are. It's hard to have boundaries. You do a lot of overthinking when it comes to decisions, and it's hard to ask for help. Cheryl, I'm glad you're here. I'm just gonna let you know that the chat is open, and at any time, if you have any questions, you can ask me there. You're gonna get a recording of the first couple minutes of this. We just started. We're talking about where people pleasing comes from, and I already kind of went, there we go, and what people pleasing looks like. So we're just kind of mentally keeping track of how these things show up in our lives. Where does people pleasing come from? Now, the reason that we're going to talk about it this way is because I want you to have some compassion for yourselves. So people pleasing comes from the fact that central human needs are care and connection. So that's what every human needs. And if you think this, Maslow is kind of problematic for some reasons, but he is right when he kind of talks about these core human needs of care and connection. Our survival is riding on the way we get care and connection. If you think about it, babies come into the world totally helpless, right? They are utterly dependent on the big people in their lives. They have to win the care of big people. And one of the ways that they do that is by paying attention to what they like and what they don't like. If any of you have ever been in a room when a baby starts smiling, what happens? The adults go bonkers and everybody's like, she's smiling, oh my gosh. And baby gets a little hit like, oh, they like this. And baby understands, if I do more of this, I'm going to get more of the positive reinforcement, of the big smiles, getting cuddled and snuggled. That's a reward. And so babies become these little data gathering machines where they want to know all of the things that make the big people in their lives happy. And then they also end up keeping track of what the big people don't like. For example, I have a daughter. When she was young, she smacked me across the face in that stage of like learning how to use her hands. And I grabbed her hand by the wrist and I said, no. And I kind of pushed her body away from mine. And what happened? She broke down in tears because she understood that like me moving her away and grabbing her arm and saying no was a punishment. And so that's what we do. We just gather. This is what they like. This is what they don't like. This gets me a reward, snuggles and cuddles and connection and care. And this over here gets me punished. And then we grow up and there's just more and more big people. There's teachers, there's coaches, there's friends. And so we just have this collection of everything we are supposed to do to get love and care and connection. Oops, wrong way. So we're dependent on those big people for safety, care, and connection. The big people tell us or show us what to do. And those become the rules, the good girl rules, and who to be. And those become the roles that we fill. We're going to talk a lot about these two kind of parts of our cages that we live in, all the rules that we're constantly supposed to be able to keep and obey, and the roles, who we are supposed to be for other people. And that's what gets us the love and connection. We get rewarded when we keep those roles and rules, and we get punished when we don't. So I want you to think for just a second. Think back to your family unit, your mom, dad, siblings, either growing up or that you live with now. What is one family rule that you know you have? Maybe it's we don't talk about hard things. If a hard thing happens, we kind of just gloss over it and keep going. Or we don't upset dad. Like dad's feelings are the most important feelings in the room. If you have an idea and you want to unmute and share it, you can, or you can share it in the chat. Some of the rules in my family is you get A's on your report card, right? Everybody gets A's. And for sure, we don't talk about hard things. That was a big one in my family growing up. You just don't talk about it. So we get stuck in people pleasing because those rules that just kind of live in there all the time and the roles that we're trying to keep, they just go on autopilot. And we're not actually choosing anymore. We're just living in these habits and patterns and doing the same thing every single year. So when it comes to holidays, Stacey, you kind of mentioned like, this is what's expected. It's just what we do every single year. I'm the one who puts on this 2-day holiday. I'm the one who manages all the stress, who does all the organizing, who makes sure that everybody's taken care of. And then at some point it starts to suck because we don't feel like we really become aware that we don't feel like we have a choice. It has to be this way. Yeah. Maddie said, right when my grandma passed, it essentially became an unspoken rule that my grandpa's grief is the only one that matters. So we need to be strong and take care of him. That's right. Yep. We all kind of gather around and caretake someone in the family. Sometimes it's dad, sometimes it's mom or grandpa, and we don't do anything that upsets them. And we're just expected to do what we can with our own grief, but we can't talk about it. Yeah. And it starts to suck because we're like, why don't I have the choice of expressing or talking about my own grief here? And we spend more and more and more time feeling worried, resentful, anxious, fearful, or just mad, right? Just really mad that we don't have a choice. We know we are people pleasing, but we don't know how to stop. And so without compassion, we beat ourselves up and we just make it harder. Here's the thing I really want you to think about. When we don't have compassion for these habits, when we can't see like, you know what? Everyone is programmed to people please. That's how babies survive. They do the things that the big people want them to do, and they get taken care of. When we don't have compassion for that, we end up thinking that there's something wrong with us. That like, I'm like extra special, super broken because I can't figure this thing out. And we make it harder to actually undo that pattern. So I want to pause. Do you have any questions at this point? And is this information helping you better understand your people pleasing? Good. Okay. Any other questions? All right. If any come up in the chat, I will just read them and integrate them as we go. So, how do you get to self-compassion? The way to get to deep self-compassion is to understand this invisible cage of the roles and the rules, and that the autopilot life you're living is not your fault. It's just how everyone is programmed to be. But we're going to look at it so that we can change it. The people pleasing that runs our daily lives is bigger during the holidays because everyone we love and care for and want to be nice to is involved all at once in a very short period of time. So why this matters is because, Stacey was saying that sometimes it gets so bad, her husband wishes we could just fast forward to January. the holidays is a microcosm that magnifies the people pleasing that exists throughout our whole lives. So, Maddie, what I'm guessing is that, yes, the passing of your grandma is creating a situation that's unique to now, but there's other ways that you feel like you have to take care of other people's emotions. Would that be right? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason that I love doing this work around the holidays is because it's just kind of putting all of those habits under a microscope and giving us the chance to really see how the cage that we're living in affects us year round. So let's get into some of the questions about you and your holidays. How have you always done the holidays? I want you to be thinking about these two questions. And what are some of the holiday rules that you were taught or have followed? I'm going to give you some to choose from and kind of, again, we're going to get back to that mental bingo board because these are the rules that my clients share that good girls, right? Good moms, good wives, good daughters have to do. They have to run all the errands. They have to do the work parties. They have to do all the traditions, all the food, all the way that we always do things. They have to organize everything. They're in charge of any volunteering activities. Family parties, they're in charge. Cooking, baking, making gifts, buying gifts, wrapping gifts. Any of these on your lists? Cleaning up. If there's a church service, we got to find it. We got to make sure the family gets there. We got to send the cards. If there's traveling, we need to arrange it. Family photos, got to get that Christmas family photo for the Christmas card. If there's any entertainment, if we're going to see a movie or go to a play or do something special for entertainment, mom's in charge or someone is in charge. We got to do all the planning. If they're singing, right, we have to do that too. We got my dad was a big fan of holiday carols. And so mom's arranging all of us around the piano and playing the songs so we can sing them. Visiting, we have to visit. We have to visit grandma and grandpa. We have to visit Uncle Tom and Aunt Marina. We have to visit the neighbors. We have to take them a plate of cookies. Decorate. And then take it all down. And if there's New Year's resolutions, we got to help with those too. And we have to do it whether we want to or not. So how many of these activities kind of fall in the rules of what you do? What are some of the rules that you were taught or have followed? And then I want you to estimate how much time do you spend each holiday doing those things, keeping those rules? Just a guess. Hours. Yeah, Stacy, hours. Just in hours. Oh, we'll get into that in a second. So while you're kind of doing that, that estimation, 2 to 4 hours a day. Yeah. Yeah, that's about right. That's right within the average that I hear. Okay, so let's talk about the roles that you fulfill each year. Are you the caretaker? And you could be filling more than one role here. Are you the caretaker? Are you doing all the organizing and hosting, cooking everyone's favorite foods, treats, and making sure everyone is happy and having a great holiday? That sounds like you, Stacy, right? Are you the peacemaker, doing your best to avoid conflict and maintain harmony at all costs, but also spending your time and energy mediating any disagreements that pop up? Maybe your role is the mother figure, where you're doing everything for everyone all the time. You hold the to-do list constantly running in your head, managing all the household duties, all while prioritizing others' needs. Maybe you're the martyr. You overdo and overgive to get appreciation and recognition, but feel underappreciated and resentful the whole time. Maybe you're pasting on a happy face for a bit, but real emotions leak through. This was me. So I would do all the buying, wrapping all the gifts, and then on Christmas morning, when my husband was just as surprised as the kids were about what they were getting because he hadn't participated in any of it, I would make little comments like, oh yeah, this is the first time that you're seeing their gifts too, huh? Like, oh, do you like what we gave the kids? Because even though I was doing all those things, I had a lot of resentment that I wasn't expressing because I wasn't getting the help that I really needed. Or maybe you're a perfectionist where you're striving for flawless holiday preparations by having really high, inflexible standards. But you also criticize yourself and others for not meeting those standards. Is there a role or two that feel like you? We go back to these: caretaker, taking care of everybody; peacemaker, avoiding conflict; mother figure, doing all the organizing, holding all the tasks. If anybody ever needs, or if anybody ever wants to help, they always go to the mother figure. What can I do? What can I do? And then you have to tell them how to help you. They don't know on their own. Martyr or perfectionist. So just keep track of what feels like you, because when we are in these roles and rules, there are some really common emotions that we are feeling. Resentment is a big one. A couple of you have mentioned that already. Guilt, frustration. Just take a mental note. Which of these really kind of hit you? Anger, sadness, just stuck. I just feel stuck in this dynamic. Rage, anxiety, obligation, worry, exhaustion, stress, scared, burned out, numb, disconnected, shame, isolation, sometimes humiliation or insecurity. Which ones feel like you? Which ones kind of hit your radar as like, yeah, that's me? What are you spending a lot of your time feeling during the holidays?
Is all of the above an option?
Yes, all of the above is an option, Maddie. Stacey, what about you?
Burned out, stressed, exhausted, a little bit anxiousness,
Yeah.
some anger towards certain people that never lift a finger.
Yeah.
I do have to say, like I said in the beginning, I'm getting better in a lot of these areas. And so I'm recognizing, oh, I don't feel that anymore. And I don't feel that anymore. So I'm evolving into a new version of myself for the holidays. But yeah,
I
those, yeah.
love that you can see both like places where you might still have some growth and the progress that you've made. That's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. Like 10 years ago, we did a family photo every year and sent cards out, and I just stopped.
Yeah.
I don't send cards out anymore. Maybe I will someday, but it's been 10 years and I haven't started again yet.
Right.
And
yeah. We did the same thing. We'll just post something on Facebook. Happy holidays, everybody. If you see it, you see it. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. The reason that it's really important to pay attention to the emotions that we are feeling is that our emotions make us do things like pretend everything is fine while you silently seethe, numb out with social media, Or you check in with other people and you're like, am I overreacting? Is this too much? Did I say the wrong thing? Is this person mad at me? You do a lot of checking with other people. Or maybe you just feel you spend a lot of time just feeling really sad and stuck, but you're not sure what to do. You distract yourself with something else. Or this is a big one. You tell yourself it's not a big deal and move on. You diminish or gaslight yourself. Maybe you withdraw or avoid. You just don't know what to do. So you just kind of go, you turtle, just go into your little shell and avoid or withdraw. Buying things, drinking things, eating things is a big way that we have to deal with those emotions. Or maybe you complain or vent to others, and you ruminate on past events, or you double down and you try harder. So when you are feeling those emotions that we were on the previous slide, what are you doing to deal with those emotions? My big one was pretending everything is fine while I was just so mad underneath. What do you notice for you?
Yeah, definitely that one too. I'm especially thinking about like buying gifts for my parents and like my sister, like trying to like figure out like financial contributions and stuff. And because, I'm the oldest daughter, the one with like a salary job, I should be the one like doing all of this. And she thinks she shouldn't have to do anything because she's in college, and setting that boundary, but yet I don't. I'm just like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You have no money, so I'll just pay for everything, even though my mom, I swear, when she wants something, it's always expensive. So
Yeah. And just the obligation that you feel. I mean, fellow oldest daughter, I think that has a lot to do with being the one that you're dependent on. You're expected to come through. You're expected to please your parents. So yeah. And so that the resentment or the worry that financial obligation puts on you, how do you deal with that? Are you ruminating? Are you pretending? Are you?
yeah, especially around my sister. I
Yeah,
just pretend things are fine.
pretend things are fine.
Yep. Mhm.
But how do you really feel underneath?
Pissed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really important that even if it's just here, we can acknowledge that it is pretending and that underneath you really don't like it. Yeah. So all of this is part of understanding what your people pleasing is costing you. Because when it's not the holidays and we're stuck in those emotions and doing these things, there is an average time that we spend. So just think non-holiday, Maddie and Stacey and anyone else who's following along. How often, how many hours a day are you feeling resentful and pissed and trapped and stressed? And how many hours are you scrolling social media, buying things, eating things? Just on average, hours per day. Ruminating. If it's hard to kind of get a handle on it, I'll tell you that on average, women tell me they spend 3 to 5 hours a day. Now, your body is doing something else, right? You're at work, you're driving to the grocery store, maybe you're picking up carpool or whatever, but your brain is feeling resentful and revisiting past events and ruminating, and you're feeling stressed and anxious. That's 21 to 35 hours per week. That's 90 to 150 hours per month. And that's 1,092 to 1,820 hours per year. This is why it is so essential that we stop people pleasing, because this is our actual time, energy, and brain space that is being taken up and just wasted, stuck in people pleasing patterns and habits. And that's not the only cost. It's also the magical holiday or the magical life that you aren't creating. When you're stuck in people pleasing and you're just living out that pattern over and over and over, and where you pretend it's fine, where you don't share your opinions, you're not creating a life where you can actually speak up about your preferences and opinions with ease, where you can confidently and clearly address conflict, where you can set and maintain any boundaries that you need with respect, where you can make decisions knowing you have your own back no matter what, where you are living a life where you don't beat yourself up anymore for mistakes, and you have time for what really matters: connection, time to take care of yourself, and most importantly, for the holiday season, you have satisfaction and joy in January instead of relief and regret that the holidays are over. Okay, I just want to check in and make sure, when I talk about the cost of your people pleasing, what do you think I am saying?
The emotional and mental, you use the word brain space, like just having so much brain clutter.
That's it.
That's just a constant hum in your body.
Mm-hmm. That is it. Yeah. The things that you think about over and over and over and over and over again, and you're not able to solve them because you're like, this is just how it is. But you're upset, right? It's the time when you are so frustrated that you can't express what you want to express, that you just turn on a movie to take your mind off of it. And it's all that time and brain space that is not going or doing what you actually want to do. That is the cost of being stuck in these patterns. And again, we're stuck in these patterns because all of us are taught to people please growing up. That's how we get the care of the big people in our lives. So this is not something to feel ashamed or mad about, but it is something to sit up and really notice. Like, this is costing me my actual life, right? The cost of our people pleasing is not just, it is, but it's not just the magical connection-filled holiday that we want. It's not just not being able to sit down and play games and have conversations and not worry about everything else, but it's also the life, the deeply satisfying and sovereign life that we aren't creating while time slips by. Okay, so how do we stop? First principle that I want you to understand is that any kind of change that you want to create requires feeling safe to do it. Stacy, you mentioned that 10 years ago, you used to spend a lot of time, sending out cards, and at some point you just stopped. That change was able to happen because you felt safe or you felt good about not doing it anymore. And because we beat ourselves up so much, that is how we undermine our own safety. Let me give you an example. If I don't fulfill someone's holiday wish, right? If someone expresses disappointment with the way that I put on the holiday, and I start beating myself up, why didn't you do that? You knew that that's what they wanted. Why didn't you take the time to do that? You should have thought of that. You should have known. That undermines my safety with me because it's like living with my own bully 24/7. When you're not safe with yourself, you aren't safe anywhere. If you're not safe to make different choices, Maddie says, oof, yeah. If you are not safe to make a different choice, if you're not safe with yourself, it's going to be really difficult to make any kind of a different choice. So this is so foundational that it is where we are starting today. Because if nothing else, over the next week before we have our second workshop, I really want you to pay attention to what the bully in your brain tells you. It's going to be a little different for everyone. You're so dumb. You're so stupid. Why did you do that? Why did you say that? You should have known, or they're not going to like it. They're going to be disappointed. You're going to disappoint a bunch of people. Each of us develops a bully that helps us keep the rules and roles. And usually it happens when we're young. This is a picture of me. I think I'm about 7 years old. I'm trying to make myself smile, but I do not want to be wearing that dress. My mom made me put it on. And so you can kind of tell I'm having like two experiences there. I'm trying to smile because it's what I'm supposed to be doing, but I also am like, I don't like this dress. And bullies become like a little sub-personality, one of our parts. The bully yells at us, berates us, and criticizes us to make us behave like we should, to get us to stay out of trouble and do things right. This is a universal part. And although the voice of the bully is a little different, it almost always sounds like the voice of the big people that we grew up with. So think about it for just a second. When you know that your bully part is really beating you up, what does it sound like for you? What are some of the things that your bully part says to you? Mine says all the time, you should have known. You should have known that was going to happen. You should have planned for that. What's the matter with you? And one of the things my mom said to me a lot growing up was, what's the matter with you? So that kind of becomes the voice that you have that's criticizing, that's trying to make you behave so you don't get in trouble. So as it might not be obvious to you right now what this bully part says, it's totally fine. All we're going to do this week is get really kind of tuned in to what it sounds like when we don't please someone else, when we think about breaking the rules or when we step out of our roles. Because we need to connect with this bully part. So if you can think of a scenario when this bully part was really on your case, I want you to just ask subconsciously. This might sound a little woo-woo, but stick with me. It'll be helpful. This bully part that wants to try to shame you or guilt you or criticize you into being good, what is it afraid will happen if it stops? If it stops bullying you and berating you and judging you, what would happen?
Well, you might become a different person because you're used to being that person that bullies yourself.
Yeah. You would become a different person. And why would that be bad?
Well, it would actually be healthier if you stop bullying yourself, but it would be unfamiliar,
Yes,
uncomfortable.
that's exactly right. Yeah. Our parts don't like change. They want to keep doing things the same way we've done them. And so often what this bully part is like, if I stopped bullying you, people would hate you, right? You'd get in trouble. Everybody would be mad at you. Now, when you think about how, when parts come about, this little girl, does she need people to like her and take care of her? She does. And so it makes sense. These reasons that our bully parts have, they actually make sense for a younger version. But what's happening now is I'm a 51-year-old woman and I don't need big people to take care of me the same way. But this bully is continuing to use the same strategy of beating me up and criticizing me. And so I need to let the bully know it can stop doing that. I can let the bully know, like, listen, I don't need you to do that anymore. It's okay. I'm big and I have skills and resources that I didn't have when I was little. And it doesn't feel good when you do that. So, what is coming up for each of you when you connect with that bully part? Maddie, I saw your head nodding. How does your bully talk to you?
So the scenario that I was thinking about specifically is that, so my birthday is a week before Christmas Eve.
Mhm.
And I usually have like a small little like birthday gathering with my friends, and my bully likes to tell me that I am a bad friend and they're all gonna want to like drop me if I don't show up to my own birthday with Christmas gifts for all of them.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
So my brain tells me that, like, it's the season of gift giving, and these are people that you care about, so you got to do it,
Okay.
even though it's literally your birthday. So you can if you want to, but
Yeah.
like, you don't have to do it then. It can be after Christmas even.
What is that bully afraid will happen if you don't show up with gifts?
That I'm gonna leave with like no friends.
Yes. Yeah, they're not going to want to be friends with you anymore. Does that feel familiar for either how you grew up or a situation that happened to you? And I can ask that a different way if that helps.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like, my family stuff, especially with my mom, and how one of her favorite things to do was give me the silent treatment if I'm not like doing things
Yeah.
for her
Yeah.
and like, catering to her like every whim. So I guess that kind of like conditioned me to think that people are only gonna like me if I like do things for them.
That's right.
Hmm.
That's right. And I want for just a second to tell you that, Maddie, that's really painful. It's really painful to have the belief that people only want me or like me when I'm doing things for them or taking care of them.
Child of a narcissist, perhaps.
Yeah. And every single one of us have these messages that the bullies are actually trying to protect us. They're trying to help us have friends and have connections and have people who like us. But it's based on an old paradigm that we're young and helpless and little. And so, Maddie, what would the bully need to know to be able to turn down some of that bullying behavior?
That you have concrete evidence that your friends actually do like you for who you are.
Yeah.
And it would be a them problem if they were having an issue with me not showing up to my literal birthday party with
Yeah.
presents for all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can imagine that you could say that to the bully part, you know what? I actually have concrete evidence that my friends like me for me. How does the bully respond to that?
No, they don't. No, they don't. You're lying.
Okay. All right. Does it make sense that the bully would respond that way?
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, like, logically, yeah, I believe it, but, like, I don't full body believe it.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So the bully is saying, no, you don't. No, you don't. What is the bully worried will happen if it believes you?
If it believes me that I'm gonna lose all my friends if I don't
No.
do
If,
this.
if it believes you that these are actually friends for real, that you have evidence that they really like you for you and not just the gifts that you give them.
I feel like it would take more than one time reminding myself that for it to calm the bully down.
Okay.
Um, I'm a very visual person, so even just like writing things out, like look at this long list of reasons that actually happen. Like these people do like you.
Yes. Okay. So imagine that the bully was able to believe you and that you were able to remind it, this is actually true. These are all the reasons. This is the evidence that I have. What might be different?
That I would be able to loosen up and have more fun
Okay.
and constantly be trying to read my friends' minds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just like overall, like more confidence in myself, like more trust in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the direction we're going to head in.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So, Stacy, what would do you have a bully part that kind of acts up and tries to get you to do the things you've always done?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Maddie, I just want to give you permission to tell your friends, hey, I'm starting a new tradition this year. And I'm going to celebrate my birthday with all y'all without gifts, without Christmas gifts. I mean, if they want to give you birthday gifts, but when you said you bring Christmas gifts to all your friends at your birthday party, I'm like, well, there you go. I'm so glad we're all here because we all need this support for sure.
Yes.
And my bully voice, so specifically about the holidays.
Or any people pleasing. Yeah.
Well, again, it used to be, and I'm getting clearer with my wants and needs, but hey, it used to be this is your role this is what everybody knows. This is the Stacy everybody knows.
Yes.
And I need to continue that role because it's just too awkward and uncomfortable if I'm a different Stacy.
Yeah.
And and so I've been working on that for several years now, and you know, I'm learning to figure out, do I want to keep the role that everybody is accustomed to,
Yeah.
and not rock the boat, or am I willing to rock the boat and see what happens? And you know, I'd say half the time the boat is rocked and I got to navigate that, and the other half the time all my fears didn't come to pass. Like the boat
Yeah.
wasn't rocked, and I'm like, oh, you mean I could have been doing this the whole time and nobody would have cared?
Yes. Yes. That is such an interesting observation, because that's what I have found to be true, is that a lot of the time our worst fears don't actually materialize, right? Our friends don't all leave us when we don't show up to our own birthday party with Christmas presents, right? We change things up. We stop sending cards. We adjust the holiday menu. But part of what keeps us from making the changes is everyone else's expectations and the way that our bully kind of comes at us. You can't change that. Everybody will be disappointed. This is the Stacy that everybody knows and expects. They're going to be mad if you're different. And so that's why we are starting here with this part that needs our attention and needs us to engage it in a dialogue. It's going to be okay. We're going to rock the boat, but we're going to be able to handle what we can do. Or we're going to show up with no gifts, and we're going to trust that our friends really want us because we're of who we are and not because we bring them gifts. So, and Cheryl, I know you're off camera. I tend to leave people alone who are off camera because I feel like they probably need to be off camera for a good reason. But Cheryl, if you have anything that you want to add to this conversation, you can unmute or you can put it in the chat as well. I really wanted to check in with you.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I've got you. Yes.
I'm new to this whole thing. I'm asking Stacy, how do I do
this? Yes, yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. All right.
Hi.
Okay, so you can see me?
Yes, I can see you here, and I'm going to stop that so we can see each other. Hi, how are you?
Sarah. Wow, this is bringing up things that, I thought about a little bit, but yeah, I'm a little bit on the verge of tears right now.
Makes sense. And it's okay if
but I see a lot of I was raised in a family of a lot of kids. I was the only girl out of 5, so I have 4 brothers, but
yeah.
And my dad was a doctor, so lots of pressure on her to do everything for everybody because he wasn't there very often. So I think mainly I've taken that a lot on myself. Adult kids are all great about, Mom, if you want to switch things up, it's okay with us, but I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to, always do and be and all those things that you talked about doing, for the holidays. So, but I think that little girl thing that you were talking about, or just the younger version of ourselves.
Yes.
Just, I think there's still a lot of that in me, and just wanting to do, the bully part is a very, really good way to look at it. And the big question that I think I've wrestled with before is, what do you think would happen,
Yeah.
if you start doing it or did it in a different way, and so yeah, those expectations that I put on myself are pretty huge. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you open to me asking you a few questions about that?
Sure.
No is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when your mom was doing all the things for everybody,
hmm
what did that teach you?
Um, Probably that I had to follow suit and just, keep doing things for everybody when I got married and became a mom and that whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it fair to say that the way she did it was the way good moms did it?
Oh yeah.
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 So if I want to be a good mom,
hmm
I want to be a good daughter or a good sister or a good, like we all have these rules and roles that creep in and we don't even know it.
Right. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so what she taught you is this is what a good mom looks like.
Yes.
And so even though it sounds like you have the understanding and the awareness and even the permission of your own kids
hmm
to not do things the same way, is there still some hesitation there?
Yeah. I think there is.
Yeah. Because what would it mean if you stopped doing those things?
Oh my goodness. I think it would mean more freedom for me
Huh?
to um to just be more present in the moment and
Yeah.
to enjoy. I it's like I find myself, as much as I love, because I'm a very people person, and I'm more of an extrovert than I am an introvert, and so I love being around my family. Um, but I think it would just mean a lot of freedom for me to, if I let, a lot of those things don't attach so much importance to them, and I could just be free. It would mean that I could be free to be in the moment and be in the present and enjoy my family more.
Yeah. So what do you think is stopping you from letting some of those things go?
Oh, um, I think part of it is that just perfectionist part of me and just filling in all the gaps, and um yeah, it's almost like it's never good enough, you know. Yeah, like I have to just do more and more and more and more in some situations.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's stopping me. Um yeah, I think it's just my own expectations of myself.
Yeah. Which, to be clear, were passed down to you,
Right. Yeah.
right? You
Right.
didn't, none of us came up with all of these good girl rules and fulfilling these roles on our own. It's how we learned to be rewarded.
Mm.
So, Cheryl, when you jumped in, when you were little and you jumped in and you helped your mom do all the things that she was doing, how did she respond?
Um, I think pretty favorably. I did help, but she just put a lot of expectations on herself, and she just did a lot herself.
She just would do it herself, right?
And a lot just by association.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember her being very demanding of me. But there was definitely times when I needed to help out and she responded favorably, but I just know that she had expectations of me.
Yeah.
And especially since I was the only girl out of, four brothers, I think that's part of it too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You weren't here in the very beginning, but I have one daughter and four boys as well.
No way.
Yes. Yeah. My daughter's the oldest, and then I have four boys. And so my daughter has talked with me about this dynamic of being, she's the oldest. So Maddie, she's like, anybody else oldest girl here? Okay. Oldest girls tend to have a bigger share of the responsibility, right? We step
you were
in
the
and we
oldest.
kind of caretake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So the question,
So yeah, I wasn't the oldest, but yeah.
Yeah. But as the only girl, maybe you felt like there was, some kind of dynamic there where you were expected to behave or act a certain way. Yeah. Yeah. So here is my hope for tonight. That by really diving into where this people pleasing comes from, you can begin to believe there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like I am this way because I was taught to be this way. I was rewarded for being this way. And that's the way it had to be. For whatever reasons that set this world and all of us into motion, whatever you believe, God or the universe, like babies are helpless. That's how they come into the world, and they have to win the care of big people.
Yeah.
And that's what we do our whole lives. And the problem is not that we people please. That's actually an important part of surviving. The problem is that we don't know how to not people please.
Right.
It's what we don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
So people pleasing is really uncomfortable, right? We're overscheduled, we're stressed, we're resentful, we're not feeling like we can change or do things differently. Not people pleasing is also very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? We're worried about what people are going to think of us. We're worried that they're mad, that we've offended them, that they're disappointed. And that tension is what we're going to talk about exactly how to navigate next week. But for this week, I just want you to do two things. Number one, to remind yourself there is nothing wrong with you. That these people-pleasing habits and patterns that you have, they really served you well at one point, and now they don't anymore. So it's time to learn something else. And number two, just listen for how this bullying part shows up for you, what it tells you, what it's worried about. And we're going to start off next week checking in about what you noticed and learned, and then diving into the 5 steps to stop people pleasing and applying it to the holidays and making our plan. Okay? Do you have any questions or thoughts or anything that you'd like to express? Or is there something specific that you'd like some coaching on? If there isn't, it's totally fine. We just have 10 minutes and I'd like to use them if that's helpful for you.
Something that came up, Sarah, recently was in my extended family, who doesn't live too far away, is having more extended family. So like 3 of 4 of my brothers are going to be together for Thanksgiving, just a little south of here. And they want to get together with all of us the day after. And there'll be all my kids and grandkids and everybody here. So that's a huge, like, I want to please my sibling family, but I've got all this other stuff going on here. And I just feel, because I'm very close with my family. And so I just, I feel that pull and that tug, like there might be some people here, in fact, there very well could be, that don't want to go, we're just all too tired, or, and I'm just like, but that's not acceptable.
Yes.
Plus, there's some issues related to how our last election went, that there's 2 sides of the camp on that. So that's awkward for me, because Cheryl doesn't do conflict well. So
okay.
So, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better in that area, but Stacy knows this We've known each other forever, but, but, yeah, so I think just with an immediate thing for Thanksgiving anyway, yeah, just navigating the whole family thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What would it mean, or what would you make it mean if the whole family didn't want to go to the extended family gathering?
Oh, part of me understands. I know it's a lot to ask, especially when the little ones are involved. So I get that. And I've kind of prefaced to one of my brothers that, we have a lot more to deal with than you guys in terms of navigating where and when and all that.
Yeah.
So I did preface it with that. I just, yeah, I have to come to a place where I do feel comfortable and okay with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's part of me that feels like they're going to be disappointed. I can't disappoint them.
There it is. There it is. I can't disappoint.
Yeah, I can't disappoint them. That's not okay.
That's not okay. So this is a dynamic that comes up often. There's a group over here that we can't disappoint.
Right.
And so we disappoint ourselves instead.
Mm.
Or we disappoint other people we love instead. Like, I have made my children go to family gatherings before.
Yeah.
I don't want to disappoint the extended family with all of us not coming. And so who have I disappointed instead? My kids.
Disappointed them.
Yeah. And what I have taught them is their feelings don't matter enough to me, or their feelings matter less to me than appearing like we're this happy family who all want to come.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. That's really important.
So when you hear that, Cheryl, what does it bring up for you? Is that a trade that you're willing to make?
I want to be willing. It's just, yeah, it's a tough one because I do want my immediate family, my kids, to feel that, and my husband to feel that their feelings right now are the most important,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, yeah.
I realize that's something to sit with. So that's what I'd like you to just sit with over the next week. Okay. Like, am I willing to tolerate the discomfort of not appearing like this loving, close family right now? Because here's the thing, Cheryl, you're really not. Right? The feelings that exist are people's real feelings.
Right.
And so trying to kind of whitewash over that just so we can all get together and pretend like we're not having these feelings.
Right. Right.
Is that what I want to make my kids do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or do I want to let them be who they are, let them be feeling what they're feeling, and let them take care of themselves and not have to please me?
Yeah.
So think about that, and I'll check in with you next week. Maddie, I want to talk really quickly about Thanksgiving #1 on Sunday. Yeah. Political talk is going to be something that we're dealing with, especially just because of what's happened. One of the things that I want to share with you is that you can have any boundary you want around political talk. And here's what I mean by that. You can even just internally say, you know what? If the politics at the table gets too much, I'm going to take an extended bathroom break.
I'll be taking many of those.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to take care of myself however I need to. I might pretend to get an urgent phone call from a friend who needs my attention right away. And I might go outside and walk around the block. Like, I get to take care of myself however I need to.
My brain's like, what? what?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go to this. I really, really don't. Because I'm the only person, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be the only person younger than 40 at this thing.
Yeah.
And I just feel uncomfortable around like 75% of the people that are going to be there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even with like the politics stuff, like I'm not the one to contribute to those kinds of conversations. I'm the like whatever, like the conflict diffuser role
Yes.
in
Yes.
that
Yeah.
case. Like
A
I'm like,
piece.
well, just shut up.
So let me ask you, is it an option to not go?
Um,
What would happen if you didn't go?
getting a lot of crap from my mom
Okay.
because I live with her,
Okay.
not hearing the end of it.
Okay.
Oh, hello. All right, bye.
Sometimes, and Maddie, here's what I want to tell you. Sometimes we are in situations where we feel like the best choice is to go to the dinner. And if that's what feels best to you, because you're just like, I just don't want to deal with it, or I don't yet have the skills to say no and stand up for myself and take all the crap that I know is going to happen, it's totally fine to go to the dinner as like just the lesser of two hard things right now.
Yeah, I feel like I hate it, but I think that might be what I have to do
Okay.
because I feel like it would be better just to sit through the like couple hours of this than deal with the however long my mom's gonna hold this over my head for.
That might be true right now. And sometimes we do have to wait until we have different circumstances before we can make some of the really big changes that we want to make. And I just want to acknowledge that that is not bad or wrong. It's just what the situation is right now, right?
Yeah, trust me, I'm working on getting the hell out of here as soon as I can. But
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I just want to offer you two things to think about. Like, number one, you get to take care of yourself however you want. Even within having to go to this dinner, like, what are some different ways that you can take care of yourself?
pretending I got stomach problems.
I was going to say, you might throw up on Sunday morning, right?
Yeah. Maybe probably I'm trying to connect with my sister in some way on that day because she's not going to be there. She's still away at school. She's not coming back for another week.
Okay.
So yeah, she's like one of my like social like crutches at
Yes.
these kinds of things, and I guess that's making me even more nervous because she's not going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You can take breaks.
True.
Sometimes I put my hair down like this and I can hide an AirPod in there
Ooh.
where I can be listening to something that is interesting for me in one ear. And I can be kind of nodding along and kind of looking around. I got through many a church service like that.
I think I'll definitely try that one.
And you can go to the bathroom. You can go outside, get some fresh air. Because sometimes, even when we're stuck in a situation that we feel like we have to do for now, there are still little ways to find to take care of yourself. Okay.
True. There are.
Okay. So here's what's going to happen next. You're going to get the recording for this session. And then in a couple days, you're going to get the workbook for next week's session. Next week, we're going to be doing a lot of identifying our values and really making some decisions based on those values of what we want to be different about this holiday. Okay. So watch for those two things. You can hit reply to any of the emails that you get, and they come to me if you have any questions or if you want feedback on anything. And next week, we're going to check on Maddie's Thanksgiving, and we're going to check on what Cheryl decided to do, and we're generally check in about what you learned this week, talking to and comforting that bully who just wants you to have friends and be liked. Okay?
Okay.
I will see all of you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.